There's a photograph on my desk, been sitting there for 50 years now. Shows two men, both old, standing on a beach in Hawaii. One of them is me, the other one tried to kill me in 1945, and then he saved my life. I was 20 years old when I shot him out of the sky. I was 20 years old when he pulled me from the water 3 days later. I'm 92 now, and I still wake up some nights thinking about those few minutes that changed everything I thought I knew about war, about enemies, about what it means to be human. It was March of 1945. I was a gunner on a TBF Avenger, stationed on the carrier USS Essex. We'd been operating near Okinawa for weeks, running missions against Japanese positions, trying to soften them up before the invasion. The air was thick most days, not just with humidity, but with tension. You could feel it in your chest when you woke up, that tightness that never really went away. We'd lost 3 planes the week before. Good men I'd played cards with, shared cigarettes with, complained about the food with. They were just gone. One minute you're talking to someone about his girl back home, showing you a picture of her in a yellow dress standing in front of a house in Ohio. Next minute, he doesn't come back from a mission. My pilot was a guy named Mitchell, Tom Mitchell, from somewhere in Pennsylvania. He had this way of humming when he flew. Not any particular song, just humming. Said it kept him calm. Our radio man was Rodriguez, Jimmy Rodriguez from Texas. He talked about his mother's cooking constantly. Enchiladas, tamales, something called cabrito that he swore was the best thing you could ever taste. I was from Michigan myself, small town outside Detroit. My dad worked at the Ford plant. My mom kept house. I had a younger sister named Eleanor who wrote me letters every week, told me about school, about rationing, about how Mrs. Henderson down the street had a son who was in Italy and how everyone prayed for him at church. The morning it happened started like any other morning. Wake up before dawn. Coffee that tasted like they'd boiled old boots in it. Brief in the ready room about the targets. That day it was supposed to be a supply depot on the northern part of Okinawa. Get to your plane. Check your guns. Check them again. Mitchell would do his walk around, touching different parts of the plane like he was saying hello to it. Rodriguez would smoke one last cigarette, always down to the very end, then flick it into the ocean. Then we'd climb in. The smell inside that plane never changed. Oil, metal, sweat, something like rubber that I could never quite place. Your own fear, maybe. That has a smell too. We launched just after 600. The carrier deck in the morning was organized chaos. Planes lined up, engines roaring, prop wash hitting you in waves. The deck crew in their colored jerseys moving like they were dancing, each one knowing exactly what they needed to do and when. The catapult officer with his flag. The sudden lurch when they launched you. That moment where your stomach dropped and you weren't sure if you were flying or falling. Then the climb, the formation, turning toward the target. The ocean below us was beautiful that morning. I remember that. Dark blue, almost purple in some places where the depth changed. The sun just starting to come up, making everything look gold at the edges. We were about 20 minutes from the target when we saw them. Japanese fighters, Zeros, 4 of them, maybe 5, coming in from the north. Mitchell's voice came through the intercom. Calm, always calm. He said, "We got company, boys. Let's see if we can make them lose interest." He started taking us lower, down toward the water. The Avenger wasn't built for dogfighting. We were torpedo bombers, slow, heavy. But Mitchell, he knew how to fly. He kept us just above the waves, making it harder for them to come at us from below. One of them came in anyway, fast, so fast. You don't realize how fast they are until one's coming straight at you. I was in the turret, cranked around, watching him close the distance. My hands were on the triggers of the .50 caliber. You train for this, over and over. But when it's real, when there's a man in that plane trying to kill you and you're trying to kill him, something in your brain goes white. Not blank, white, too bright, too sharp, everything too clear. If you're still listening to my story, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like button and subscribe. It means these memories won't be forgotten. I fired. The gun shook in my hands. The sound inside that turret was like being inside a bell while someone hit it with a hammer. Brass casings ejecting, the smell of cordite so strong it burned your nose. Tracers going out, every 5th round so you could see where you were shooting. The Zero was firing too. I could see the flashes from his wings. Something hit our plane, metal tearing. Rodriguez yelling something I couldn't make out. Mitchell keeping us steady somehow, while I kept firing. Kept my finger on those triggers like my life depended on it. Because it did. Because all our lives did. Then I saw smoke, black smoke coming from the Zero's engine. He pulled up, trying to gain altitude, but the smoke got thicker. He was losing power. I watched him start to spiral, watched him going down. There was no parachute. Sometimes they didn't jump, sometimes they couldn't. Sometimes the plane was spinning too hard, the G-forces pinning them in the seat. Sometimes they chose not to. We'd heard stories about that, about Japanese pilots who'd rather go down with their planes than be captured. He hit the water about a mile away. Big splash, white foam, then nothing. Just pieces floating, part of a wing, some debris, the ocean taking it all. I felt something then, not pride, not relief, something else, something hollow. I'd just killed a man. I knew that's what happened in war. That's what we were there to do. But knowing it and seeing it, those are different things. I was 20 years old. 3 months earlier, I'd been working at my dad's friend's garage, changing oil, rotating tires, going to the movies on Saturday nights. Now I'd just watched a man die because I'd shot him out of the sky. Mitchell said, "Good shooting, kid." His voice still calm. We kept going toward the target, dropped our payload, turned back toward the carrier, made it back, trapped on the deck, cut the engine, climbed out. The maintenance chief was already looking at the damage. We'd taken hits in the tail section. Nothing critical, he said. They'd patch it. Have us ready to go again tomorrow. Rodriguez had a cut on his forehead from where something had bounced around the cockpit. He didn't even remember how it happened. We went to debriefing, told them what happened. Confirmed kill on 1-0. They marked it down. Mitchell got credit as pilot, but he made sure they noted I was the one who got the shot. That night in the mess, some of the other guys congratulated me. Bought me an extra serving of whatever that brown stuff was they said was beef. I didn't feel like celebrating. I just kept seeing that 0 going down. Kept seeing the smoke. Kept wondering if the pilot was dead before he hit the water or if he was alive when he went under. 2 days later, we launched again. Same routine, same terrible coffee, same smells, same sounds. Different target this time. Airfield on one of the smaller islands. The Japanese were trying to build up positions there, using it to stage attacks. We were supposed to take out the runway, make it unusable. 6 Avengers in our group, with fighter escort. Hellcats above us and to the sides. Should have been routine, should have been simple. We were about 40 miles out when everything went wrong at once. More zeros, a lot more than intelligence said would be there. They came out of the clouds like angry hornets. The Hellcats engaged them, but there were too many. One got through, came at us from above and behind, where the turret angle wasn't good. I tried to get turned around, tried to get my guns on him, but he was too fast, too close. I heard the impacts before I felt them. That sound of metal punching through metal. Felt the plane shudder, heard Rodriguez scream. Then Mitchell's voice, tight now, not calm anymore. "We're hit bad. We're going down. Get ready to ditch." Everything happened fast after that, and slow at the same time. You ever notice how that works? How time does strange things when you're scared? Mitchell was fighting the controls, trying to keep us level, trying to get us down to the water without cartwheeling. I could smell fuel. That's bad. That's very bad. Means the tanks are ruptured. Means if anything sparks, we turn into a fireball. The ocean was coming up. Too fast. Mitchell yelled, "Brace, brace, brace." We hit. The world exploded into noise and water and force. My head snapped forward, then back. Something hit my shoulder. The plane skipped once, twice, then nosed down. Water started coming in. Cold water. Fast. I got my harness off. Don't remember how. Your body does things sometimes without your brain having to think about it. Survival instinct, I guess. Training taking over. I pulled myself out of the turret. The plane was sinking, already nose down, tail up. Mitchell was out, in the water, swimming away from the plane. Rodriguez wasn't moving. I went back for him, grabbed him, pulled him, got him out through the side hatch, into the water. The plane went under about 10 seconds after we cleared it. Just slipped below the surface like it was never there. Rodriguez wasn't breathing. I tried. I did what I could. Tried to remember the training, but there was too much blood, too much damage. He died there in the water while I held him. Jimmy Rodriguez from Texas, who talked about his mother's enchiladas. He was 22 years old. I had to let him go eventually. Had to. I couldn't keep him afloat and myself afloat. Mitchell was yelling for me. We had to stick together. We had to get away from where the plane went down in case the Japanese came looking. So I let Rodriguez go. Watched him sink into that dark blue water. That's something I've had to live with. Knowing I let him go, knowing I had to, but also knowing I did. Mitchell and I stayed together. We had one life raft between us. The emergency kit that auto-deployed when we hit the water. Small thing, barely big enough for 2 men, but it kept us floating. We had some supplies, water, emergency rations, flares, a mirror for signaling. We were maybe 50, 60 miles from the carrier group. They knew we were down. They'd send search planes. We just had to survive until they found us. That's what Mitchell kept saying. They'll find us. Just hold on. They'll find us. The first day wasn't too bad. Hot, yes. The sun beating down on you out there with no shade. That's brutal. Your lips crack. Your skin burns. But we had water. We rationed it. Little sips. We saw planes a few times. Too far away. Too high up. We tried the mirror, tried the flares. Nothing. They didn't see us. The ocean is big. A raft is small. You're just a dot. By the second day, Mitchell was getting worse. Turns out he'd been hurt in the crash worse than he let on. Something internal. He was trying to hide it, trying to stay strong, but I could tell. Could see it in how he moved, how he grimaced when he thought I wasn't looking. The second night we heard them, sharks, bumping the raft. You could feel it, that thump from below. You couldn't see them in the dark, but you knew they were there, circling, waiting. Mitchell had his service pistol. I had mine. We didn't fire, didn't want to waste the ammunition. Didn't want to attract attention if there were Japanese boats nearby. We just sat there, in the dark, feeling those bumps, wondering if the raft would hold, wondering what we'd do if it didn't. Morning of the third day, Mitchell wasn't talking much anymore. Fever, maybe. Infection. I don't know. I tried to keep him hydrated, tried to keep his spirits up, told him about Michigan, about my sister Eleanor, about the first car I ever worked on, a 1936 Ford that had been sitting in someone's barn for years. Told him we'd get out of this, told him they'd find us. But I wasn't sure I believed it anymore. We were drifting, the current taking us somewhere, away from where we'd gone down, away from where the search planes would be looking. That afternoon, I saw the debris floating nearby. Part of a plane, Japanese markings, orange paint, mostly burned, pieces of metal twisted and black. And then I saw him, a man, in the water, clinging to a piece of the fuselage. At first I thought he was dead. Then he moved, turned his head, looked right at me. We were maybe 100 yards apart, both of us just floating there, both of us in the same situation. Enemy. That's what he was supposed to be. That's what I was supposed to think. I paddled the raft toward him. Don't ask me why. Mitchell didn't even notice. He was out of it by then, muttering something about Pennsylvania, about someone named Sarah. I paddled toward this Japanese pilot clinging to wreckage. Got close enough to see his face. Young, younger than me maybe. Dark hair plastered to his head. Flight suit torn. Blood on his shoulder. His eyes met mine. Wide. Scared. Same as mine probably were. For a long moment we just stared at each other. 2 men who were supposed to kill each other. 2 men who were both probably going to die out here anyway. If you're still listening to my story, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like button and subscribe. It means these memories won't be forgotten. Then he did something I didn't expect. He raised his hand, not to attack, not to defend, just raised it, palm out, and he was holding something, a canteen, water. He shook it, nearly empty. He pointed at me, then at Mitchell, then at himself. I understood. We were all in the same situation, all dying of thirst, of sun, of injuries, all just trying to survive. I should have left him there. That's what you're thinking probably. That's what I thought other people would think if I told them. This is the enemy. This is a man whose country attacked us, whose military was doing terrible things all across the Pacific. But out there, in that moment, I didn't see the enemy. I saw a man who was going to die alone in the ocean. Same as I was, same as Mitchell was. I pulled him to the raft, helped him climb in. He was weak, injured worse than I'd thought. The blood on his shoulder was from a deep gash, something from the crash. He had burns on his hands. He collapsed into the raft, breathing hard. For a while we just sat there, 3 men in a tiny raft, 2 Americans and a Japanese. Enemies, survivors. He looked at Mitchell, then at me, said something in Japanese I didn't understand, but his tone was clear, concern. He could see Mitchell was in bad shape. He reached into a pocket of his flight suit, pulled out a small metal tin, opened it. Some kind of ointment. He gestured, asking if he could help. I didn't stop him. He put some of that ointment on Mitchell's burns. Gentle, careful, like he was handling something precious. That night, all 3 of us were quiet. The stars came out, brilliant out there, away from any lights. You could see the Milky Way like a river of light across the sky. The Japanese pilot, I learned his name eventually, sort of. He pointed at himself and said something that sounded like Takeshi. I pointed at myself, said James, pointed at Mitchell, said his name. Takeshi nodded, repeated the names quietly, like he was committing them to memory. We shared water, what little we had left. Takeshi had a bit in his canteen. We had some in ours. We pooled it, rationed it between the three of us. Enemies doing math together, figuring out how to make the water last one more day. The sharks came back that night, worse than before. You could feel them, constant now, curious, aggressive. One came close enough that we could see its fin in the moonlight, dark triangle cutting through the water, circling. Takeshi saw it too. He reached down, grabbed a piece of the debris he'd been clinging to, a piece of metal, started banging it against the side of the raft, making noise, making vibrations. The shark veered off. He looked at me, nodded. We took turns after that. Whenever we felt them getting too close, one of us would bang on the raft, scare them off. 2 Americans and a Japanese working together to keep the sharks away. War is strange like that. What matters and what doesn't? What makes sense and what's absurd? Mitchell died just before dawn, quiet, peaceful, if there's such a thing when you're dying in a raft in the middle of the Pacific. He just stopped breathing. One moment he was there, the next he wasn't. I'd known him for 8 months, flown 27 missions with him. He'd saved my life more times than I could count with his flying, keeping us alive when we should have been dead, and I couldn't save his. Takeshi helped me prepare the body. We didn't have anything to weight him with, no proper way to do it, but we said what we could. I didn't know any prayers, not real ones. Just said some things I remembered from church when I was a kid. Takeshi said something too, in Japanese, soft, respectful. Then we let Mitchell go into the water, watched him sink, same as I'd done with Rodriguez. 2 friends gone in 3 days. After that, it was just Takeshi and me. We didn't talk much, couldn't really. Language barrier, but we didn't need to talk. We understood each other anyway. Thirsty, hot, hurt, tired, hoping. By the 4th day, I was starting to hallucinate, seeing things that weren't there, islands, ships, planes that vanished when I blinked. Takeshi was in rough shape too. His shoulder was infected. I could smell it, that sweet, sick smell of rot. We were both going to die out there. I accepted that, made peace with it as much as you can. Thought about my parents, about Eleanor, about how they'd get a telegram saying I was missing, presumed dead, about how my mom would cry, about how my dad wouldn't, not where anyone could see, but how he'd go into the garage and sit in the dark by himself. That afternoon, Takeshi saw it first, pointed. Couldn't talk much by then, but he pointed. I looked where he was indicating, thought it was another hallucination, but it wasn't. A dorsal fin. No, not a shark. Too big. A periscope, a submarine, coming toward us. For a second I felt hope. Then I saw the markings. Japanese. It was a Japanese submarine. Takeshi started waving, using what energy he had left, trying to signal them. I just sat there, frozen. This was it. Either they'd pick us up and I'd spend the rest of the war in a POW camp, or they'd shoot us and leave us. I'd heard stories about both. The submarine surfaced, close enough that I could see men on the deck. They were calling out to Takeshi. He was calling back, weak but calling. They threw a line, started to pull the raft closer. One of them saw me, pointed, shouted something, raised a rifle. Takeshi yelled something, loud, urgent, put himself between me and the guy with the rifle. Kept yelling, gesturing. The men on the submarine were arguing. I could tell even though I couldn't understand the words. Takeshi kept talking, kept gesturing at me, at himself, at the raft, at the water around us where Mitchell and Rodriguez were somewhere below, at the sky, telling them something. Telling them what, I'll never know exactly. Finally, one of them, an officer maybe, nodded, gave an order. They pulled the raft alongside, helped Takeshi up first. He was barely conscious by then. Then they helped me. Rough, not gentle, but they helped me. Got me on the deck. Someone grabbed my arms, tied them behind my back, pushed me toward the hatch. I looked back at Takeshi. He was being taken below too. Our eyes met for a second. He nodded, just a little nod. Then they shoved me down the ladder into the submarine. I spent the next 4 months as a prisoner. They took me to Japan, put me in a camp outside Tokyo. I'm not going to talk much about that time. It was bad. That's all you need to know. A lot of it was bad. Men died. Men I knew. Men whose names I still remember. I survived. Don't know why I survived when others didn't. Luck, maybe. Stubbornness. The hope that I'd see my family again. The guards, most of them were brutal. But there was one, older man, who sometimes gave me extra water, never spoke to me, never looked at me directly, just set a cup down near my cell and walked away. Small mercy, small kindness. I held on to things like that. The war ended in August. We heard the planes, saw them flying over, B-29s, hundreds of them. Then nothing for a while. Then one day the guards were gone, just gone, left us there. Some other prisoners who spoke Japanese heard people in the town talking about surrender, about bombs, about the emperor's voice on the radio. We didn't believe it at first, thought it was a trick, but then American planes came, transport planes, supplies, medics. It was real, it was over. They evacuated us, took us to hospital ships, fed us, treated us, asked us questions, took our statements. I told them everything except Takeshi. I don't know why I didn't mention him. Maybe because I thought they wouldn't understand. Maybe because I didn't understand it myself yet. If you're still listening to my story, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like button and subscribe. It means these memories won't be forgotten. I came home in October 1945, San Francisco. When that ship passed under the Golden Gate Bridge, men were crying. Grown men, tough men, crying like children. I cried too. I'd thought I'd never see America again. My parents met me at the dock. Eleanor was there too, taller than I remembered. My mom held on to me and wouldn't let go. My dad shook my hand, then pulled me into a hug. Didn't say anything, didn't need to. We drove home to Michigan. Everything looked the same and different at the same time. The houses, the streets, the trees, all the same. But I was different. The town felt too quiet, too clean, too safe. I'd wake up at night thinking I was still in the raft or in the camp. Take me a minute to remember where I was, to remember I was home. I didn't talk about the war much. Nobody really wanted to hear about it anyway. People would say, "Welcome home," and "Thank you for your service," and that was nice, but they didn't want the details, didn't want to know what it was really like, so I didn't tell them. I got a job at a factory, met a girl named Dorothy at a church social. She was patient with me, patient with the nightmares, with the times I'd just go quiet and stare at nothing. We got married in 1947, had 3 kids, lived a normal life, a good life. But I thought about that raft every single day. Thought about Mitchell and Rodriguez, thought about Takeshi, wondered if he survived the war, wondered if he made it home, wondered if he ever thought about those days in the raft, about the American gunner he'd saved. Years passed. I worked, raised my kids, watched them grow up, go to college, get married, have kids of their own. Dorothy died in 1989. Cancer. That was hard. Harder than anything except the war. The house felt empty after that, too quiet. My daughter Sarah, we'd named her after Mitchell's girl, even though I never told her that. She worried about me, wanted me to move in with her family. But I stayed in the house, stayed with my memories and my photographs and my routines. I'd sit on the porch in the evenings, watch the sunset, think about the Pacific, about water stretching forever in all directions, about 3 men in a raft who weren't supposed to help each other, but did anyway. It was 1995 when the letter came. 50 years after the war ended, 50 years almost to the day. It was from an organization that helped veterans find each other, reconnect, get closure. They'd tracked me down through old military records. The letter said a Japanese veteran was trying to find an American named James who'd been picked up by submarine I-58 in March 1945. Said this veteran had limited information, but remembered the name, remembered the circumstances, wondered if the American had survived, wondered if he'd be willing to meet. I read that letter 10 times, sat at my kitchen table and read it over and over. It had been 50 years, half a century. I was 70 years old. Takeshi, if it was him, would be about the same age. Old men now, grandpas, not young warriors trying to kill each other. I didn't know if I wanted to reopen this, didn't know if I could handle it, but I also knew I had to know if he made it, had to thank him for saving my life, had to tell him that I'd thought about him for 50 years, that he'd changed how I saw everything. I wrote back, said yes, said I'd meet him. They arranged it. Hawaii, neutral ground. The beach at Waikiki. There's something appropriate about that. Meeting on a beach, meeting near the ocean that almost killed us both. I flew out in November. My daughter wanted to come with me. I said no. Said this was something I needed to do alone. Checked into a hotel. Couldn't sleep the night before. Kept wondering what I'd say, what he'd say, if we'd even recognize each other. We were old now, different. I got to the beach early, too early. Sat on a bench and watched the waves. Watched tourists taking pictures, families playing in the surf, young people who had no idea what this ocean had seen, what it held. Then I saw him, walking slowly, using a cane. Spotted me because I was wearing my old service cap like I'd said I would. He walked up, stopped a few feet away. We looked at each other. I saw the young pilot in his face, saw it in his eyes. He saw me too, saw the gunner who'd shot him down, the sailor he'd saved. He said in careful English, "James?" I nodded. Said, "Takeshi?" He nodded. Then he smiled. Not a big smile, small, sad, but genuine. He said, "I learn English after war, always hoping I find you. Thank you. Thank you for not leaving me in water." I didn't know what to say to that. I said, "You saved my life. You didn't have to. You saved my life." He shook his head, said, "We save each other, both of us, in raft. We choose to be human, not enemy, human." We sat on that bench for 4 hours. He told me his story. He'd been a pilot, obviously, shot down by a carrier plane. He thought maybe an Avenger. His plane had gone down. He'd gotten out but was injured, had been in the water for 2 days before I found him. The submarine had taken us both to Japan. He'd argued for my life, told the captain that I'd saved him, that he owed me, that honor demanded I be treated well. The captain had agreed, reluctantly. Takeshi had made sure I was fed, given water. That older guard who'd sometimes given me extra water, that was on Takeshi's orders. He'd checked on me as much as he could without making it obvious. Tried to protect me when he could. After the war, he'd gone home to his village, married his childhood sweetheart, had 5 children, became a teacher, taught history, taught his students about the war, about the mistakes that were made, about the importance of peace. And he'd thought about me every day, same as I'd thought about him. Wondered if I'd made it home, wondered if I'd lived a good life, wondered if I hated him for being Japanese, for being the enemy. I told him my story too, about coming home, about Dorothy and the kids, about the nightmares that still came sometimes, about how I'd never told anyone about him, about how I'd carried this memory for 50 years like a secret, about how he'd changed everything for me, about how after those days in the raft, I could never think of enemies the same way, could never think of war the same way, how I'd see news about conflicts, about people killing each other over borders and beliefs and politics, and all I could think about was that we were all just people, just humans trying to survive, that under the uniforms and the flags and the rhetoric, we were all the same, all scared, all wanting to go home, all capable of compassion even when everything around us said we shouldn't be. If you're still listening to my story, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like button and subscribe. It means these memories won't be forgotten. Takeshi pulled out a photograph, old, faded, showed 3 men in a raft. Took me a second to understand what I was seeing. Mitchell, me, and Takeshi. I didn't remember anyone taking a picture, Takeshi explained. After they pulled us onto the submarine, before they took me to the hold, one of the crew had taken it. Documentation maybe, proof. The submarine captain had given Takeshi a copy after the war. He'd kept it all these years. In the photo, Mitchell was already gone, I think, or nearly gone. You could see it in his face. Takeshi and I looked like ghosts, sunburned, hollow-eyed, barely alive, but alive. He gave me that photograph, said he'd had copies made, said I should have one. I've kept it on my desk ever since, look at it every day. We met several more times over the years. He came to Michigan once. I went to Japan twice, met his family, met his children, his grandchildren. They were kind to me, so kind. His wife made me feel welcome in their home, served me tea, showed me photographs. Takeshi showed me his village, the school where he taught. We went to memorials together, stood in front of walls of names, his country's names, my country's names, all of them too young, all of them gone. We'd stand there, 2 old men who'd survived, thinking about all the ones who hadn't, thinking about Rodriguez and Mitchell and all the others, thinking about how lucky we were, how grateful we were, how survivor's guilt is a real thing that never quite leaves you alone. Takeshi died 3 years ago. He was 89, heart attack. Quick, his daughter told me. He didn't suffer much. I couldn't make it to Japan for the funeral. Too old, too far, too hard. But I sat in my living room and said some words, said goodbye to my friend, to the man who'd been my enemy for a few minutes and my brother for 50 years, To the man who taught me that humanity is a choice we make, not something that's given to us. That even in the worst circumstances, even when every rule and law and command says you should do one thing, you can choose to do another. You can choose to see the person instead of the enemy. You can choose compassion instead of hate. I'm 92 years old now, same age as I said at the start. I don't have many years left. I can feel it, the way your body tells you things. The way time feels different when there's not much of it ahead. My kids want me to move into a facility, somewhere with nurses and care. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But before I go, wherever I'm going, I wanted to tell this story. Wanted it on record somewhere. Wanted people to know about Takeshi, about Mitchell and Rodriguez, about three men in a raft who chose to be human when everything said they should be enemies. War is a terrible thing. Don't let anyone tell you different. It takes young men, good men, and puts them in impossible situations. Makes them do things they'll carry for the rest of their lives. Makes them see things they can't unsee. Changes them in ways that never completely heal. I lost friends in that war. Lost pieces of myself. Lost some innocence or hope or whatever you want to call it. But I also learned something out there in that raft. Learned that our enemies are people too. That they have families and hopes and fears, same as us. That they want to go home, same as we do. That when you strip away the uniforms and the propaganda and the politics, we're all just human beings trying to survive in a world that's often cruel and unfair and senseless. I shot Takeshi out of the sky. He saved my life. Both of those things are true. Both of those things happened. And both of those things shaped who I became. I'm not saying war is good, or that enemies should be friends, or that any of this makes sense in any logical way. I'm just saying that sometimes, in the worst moments, humans can surprise you, can be better than they have to be, can show kindness when they could show cruelty, can choose life when they could choose death. There's a young man who lives next door to me, comes over sometimes to help with things around the house, fix a leaky faucet, change a light bulb, mow the lawn. Good kid. He's thinking about joining the military. Asked me what I thought. If I'd recommend it, I told him the truth. Told him it's not like the movies. Told him it's harder and uglier and sadder than anything Hollywood will show you. But I also told him that it taught me things I couldn't have learned any other way. About courage, about fear, about friendship and sacrifice, and the strange ways that humanity shows up when you least expect it. I told him about Takeshi. He listened, really listened. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "That's an amazing story, Mr. James." I said, "It's not amazing. It's just what happened. It's just what we did." But maybe that's the point. Maybe the amazing thing is that it wasn't amazing, that it was just two men making a choice, a simple choice, to help instead of hurt, to see a person instead of an enemy, to be human instead of being soldiers. Any of us can make that choice, anytime, in war or in peace, when someone needs help, when someone is suffering, when someone is different from us, speaks a different language, believes different things, comes from a different place. We can choose to see them as enemies, or we can choose to see them as people. We can choose to turn away, or we can choose to help. It's always a choice. I think about that photograph on my desk every day. 3 men in a raft, 2 Americans and a Japanese, enemies who became something else, something better. Sometimes at night, I dream about the raft, but it's not a nightmare anymore. Not usually. It's just a memory, a strange, sad, beautiful memory of a time when the world was trying to tear itself apart, and 3 men decided not to let it. Decided to hold on to their humanity even when it would have been easier to let it go. Decided that survival meant more than just staying alive. It meant staying human. If you're still listening to my story, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like button and subscribe. It means these memories won't be forgotten. Mitchell used to hum when he flew. I can still hear it sometimes. Not any song, just humming. Rodriguez talked about his mother's cooking, enchiladas and tamales and cabrito. I never got to taste any of it. Never will. They're both gone, 79 years in the water. The ocean took them and kept them, but I carry them with me. Carry their memories, their voices, the way Mitchell would touch the plane before we took off, the way Rodriguez would smoke his cigarette down to nothing, the way they trusted me, the way I trusted them, the way we were a crew, brothers, family. Takeshi had a scar on his shoulder, from the crash, from the injury that got infected. It never healed quite right. He showed it to me once years later when we were old men. Said he thought of it as a reminder, not of war, not of pain, but of survival. Of the American who could have left him in the water but didn't. Of the choice that saved both their lives. I have scars too, on my back, from the camp. I don't show them to people, but they're there. My reminder, my proof that I was there, that it wasn't a dream, that it really happened. The hardest part about getting old is watching everyone else disappear. My parents, gone. Dorothy, gone. Friends from the war, from work, from church, gone. You go to fewer and fewer funerals until you realize you might be the last one left, the last one who remembers, the last one who can tell the stories. That's why I'm telling this now, because someone needs to know. Someone needs to remember that Mitchell and Rodriguez existed, that they mattered, that they died too young in a war that took too many, that Takeshi existed, that he was a good man, that he made a choice that rippled through decades, that changed lives, that changed me. My granddaughter asks me sometimes about the war. She's 17, studying history in school. They're doing a unit on World War II. She wants to know what it was like, really like. Not the textbook version, not the documentary version, the real version. I tell her some things, not everything. Some things you can't tell a 17-year-old, some things you shouldn't. But I tell her enough. Tell her about the fear, about the friends, about the moments that stay with you, about the photograph on my desk and the story behind it. She listens, really listens. Not like she's humoring an old man, but like she actually cares. Like she wants to understand. That gives me hope that maybe these stories matter, that maybe the next generation will learn something from them. We'll be better. We'll make better choices. People ask me sometimes if I regret joining up, if I regret going to war. It's a complicated question. I regret what it cost, regret the friends I lost, regret the things I saw and did, regret the nightmares and the memories that never quite fade. But I don't regret serving, don't regret doing my part, don't regret being there with Mitchell and Rodriguez and all the others, don't regret the lessons I learned, even though they came at a terrible price. And I definitely don't regret those days in the raft with Takeshi. Don't regret the choice I made, the choice we both made. That's something I've never regretted. Not once, not ever. There was a period, years after the war, when I was angry. Angry at the Japanese, angry at the war, angry at God for letting it happen, for letting good men die while others lived, for the randomness of it all. Why did I survive when Rodriguez didn't? Why did Mitchell die when he was the best pilot I ever knew? Why did some men come home and others didn't? What was the logic? What was the fairness? There wasn't any. That was the answer. There was no logic, no fairness, just chance, just luck, just chaos. That made me angry for a long time, made me bitter. Dorothy helped with that, helped me work through it, helped me understand that being angry at the past doesn't change it, that the only thing you can control is how you move forward, how you live with it, how you honor the ones who didn't make it home. I honor them by living well, by being a good father, by being a good husband when Dorothy was alive, by being a good grandfather now, by being kind to people, by helping when I can, by telling their stories, by making sure Mitchell and Rodriguez aren't just names on a memorial wall somewhere, that they're real people who lived and laughed and had hopes and fears and died too young. That's how I honor them. That's all I can do. The ocean doesn't care about any of this. Doesn't care about war or peace, about enemies or friends, about who lives or dies. It just is. Vast and deep and indifferent. I've been back to the Pacific a few times over the years, stood on beaches, looked out at the water, tried to imagine where we were, where the raft drifted, where Mitchell and Rodriguez are. It all looks the same. Blue water stretching to the horizon, waves rolling in, wind blowing. The ocean keeps all its secrets, keeps its dead, doesn't give them back. That used to make me sad. Now it just seems right. They're part of it now. Part of something bigger than themselves, bigger than the war, bigger than all of us. Takeshi told me once, years after the war, that he'd had nightmares too, about drowning, about the raft, about being left in the water, about the submarine, about everything. Said they'd gotten better over time but never completely went away. Said some nights he'd wake up and think he was back there. Would take him a minute to remember he was home, safe, alive. I told him I had the same nightmares. We laughed about that. Dark humor, maybe. But it felt good to know I wasn't alone, that someone else understood, that someone else carried the same weight. That's what trauma does. It isolates you, makes you feel like no one else could possibly understand what you went through. But sometimes you find someone who does, someone who was there, someone who gets it. That's precious. That's rare. If you're still listening to my story, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like button and subscribe. It means these memories won't be forgotten. I wonder sometimes what would have happened if I hadn't helped Takeshi, if I'd paddled away, left him there. He would have died, probably within hours. The injuries, the dehydration, the sun, he wouldn't have made it, and I wouldn't have known his story, wouldn't have known about his family, his life, his kindness, wouldn't have had a friend for 50 years, wouldn't have learned what I learned. My life would have been smaller, narrower, defined more by hate and less by hope. That one choice, that one moment of seeing a person instead of an enemy, changed everything. Changed the trajectory of my life. Changed how I saw the world. Changed who I became. That's the thing about choices. You don't always know in the moment how important they are. You don't always see the ripples spreading out. You just do what feels right, what feels human, and then you live with it. Some choices haunt you. Some choices you regret. But some choices, even when they're hard, even when they go against everything you've been taught, even when they don't make logical sense, those choices become the foundation of who you are. That's what helping Takeshi was for me. A foundation, a touchstone, proof that even in the worst circumstances, humanity is possible. Kindness is possible. Connection is possible. The letters Takeshi and I exchanged over the years, after we found each other again, I've kept them all, boxes of them. His English got better over time. Mine was never great, but I tried. We wrote about everything, about our families, about our work, about our memories of the war, about our hopes for the future, about aging and loss and all the things that come with getting old, about regrets and gratitude, about what it all meant. Those letters are precious to me, more precious than anything else I own. They're proof that something good came from something terrible, proof that enemies can become friends, proof that the human heart is bigger than national boundaries. I've told this story a few times over the years, to friends, to family, to other veterans. The reactions are mixed. Some people get it, understand what I'm trying to say. Others think I was a fool, that I should have left him there, that he was the enemy and I had no obligation to help him, that I risked my own life for someone who would have killed me if circumstances were different. Maybe they're right. Maybe I was a fool. But I'd rather be a fool who helped someone than a wise man who left someone to die. That's a choice I can live with. That's a choice I'm proud of. War makes you see death up close, makes you understand how fragile life is, how quickly it can be snuffed out. One moment you're talking to someone, next moment they're gone. Rodriguez died in my arms. Mitchell died with me sitting next to him, helpless. I've seen men die from bullets, from shrapnel, from fire, from drowning, from disease, from infection, from giving up. Death isn't noble in war. It's not glorious. It's messy and ugly and final. It's a waste. That's what war is. A massive waste of human life and potential. All those young men with futures ahead of them, all those possibilities, all those dreams. Gone. For what? For political decisions made by old men who weren't the ones doing the dying. For borders and resources and pride. I'm not a pacifist. I believe sometimes fighting is necessary. But I also believe we should exhaust every other option first. That war should be the absolute last resort. Because the cost is too high. The price is too steep. When I came home from the war, I thought I'd be able to just pick up where I left off. Thought I'd go back to working on cars, dating girls, going to movies, living a normal life. But you can't do that. You can't unsee what you've seen. Can't unknow what you know. Can't go back to being innocent when you've lost your innocence. So you adapt. You learn to live with it. You build a new normal. You find ways to make peace with the past. You move forward because that's all you can do. Standing still isn't an option. Looking back too long isn't healthy. You have to keep moving, keep living, keep finding reasons to get up in the morning. For me, those reasons were Dorothy and the kids. Work, routine, small pleasures, a good cup of coffee, a sunset, a conversation, a letter from Takeshi. The little things that make life worth living. The photograph on my desk has faded over the years. The colors aren't as bright. The details aren't as sharp. But I can still see us. Still see three men who weren't supposed to help each other but did. Still see the exhaustion and the hope and the desperation. Still see the humanity. That photograph is my proof that it happened. that it wasn't a dream or a story I invented to make sense of the senseless. It was real. We were real. That moment was real. I don't know what happens when we die. Don't know if there's an afterlife, if I'll see Dorothy again, if Mitchell and Rodriguez are waiting somewhere. Don't know if Takeshi and I will meet again in whatever comes next. I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that the connections we make here, the bonds we form, they mean something beyond this life. That love and friendship and compassion aren't just chemical reactions in our brains, but something more, something eternal. Maybe that's naive. Maybe that's just an old man hoping. But hope is all we have sometimes. Hope that it meant something. Hope that it mattered. Hope that the good we do outlives us. If you're still listening to my story, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like button and subscribe. It means these memories won't be forgotten. My kids have been patient with me over the years. Patient with the nightmares. Patient with the times I'd zone out, lost in memories. Patient with my need to tell stories about the war, about the people I knew, about the things that happened. They didn't always understand. How could they? They grew up in peacetime, grew up safe, grew up with opportunities I never had. But they tried to understand. They listened. They asked questions. They cared. That's all you can ask for, that your children care enough to listen. Care enough to try to understand where you came from and what shaped you. There are museums now dedicated to World War II, places where they've preserved artifacts, documents, photographs, places where they tell the stories. I've been to a few of them. It's strange seeing your war in a museum, seeing things behind glass that you remember holding, using, living with, seeing uniforms like the one you wore, seeing weapons like the ones you fired, seeing maps of places you were, battles you fought. It makes it all feel distant, historical, like it happened a long time ago to someone else. But it did happen a long time ago. 79 years, almost 80, a lifetime, several lifetimes. The world has changed so much since then. Technology, politics, culture, everything. But some things haven't changed. People still fight wars, still kill each other over differences, still forget that we're all human, still forget the lessons that should have been learned. Takeshi used to say that teaching history was his way of fighting for peace, that if he could help young people understand the cost of war, the reality of it, maybe they'd work harder to prevent it. Maybe they'd choose dialogue over violence. Maybe they'd see enemies as people. I don't know if he succeeded. I hope he did. I hope some of his students took his lessons to heart, became diplomats or teachers or peacemakers themselves, became the kind of people who choose compassion over hatred. That would be a good legacy, better than most. My legacy is smaller, my family, the work I did, the people I helped, the stories I've told, the choice I made in a raft in the Pacific in 1945. That's not much, but it's something. It's enough. I didn't change the world, didn't end wars or bring peace, just lived my life as best I could, tried to be decent, tried to remember the lessons, tried to honor the ones who didn't make it home. That's all any of us can do, really. Live as well as we can, be as kind as we can, remember as much as we can, pass on what we've learned, hope that it matters. The thing about being 92 is, you know you don't have much time left. Every day is borrowed. Every morning you wake up is a gift. I don't fear death, not anymore. I've seen too much of it to fear it. It's just the next thing, the next transition. What I fear is being forgotten. That my story, Mitchell's story, Rodriguez's story, Takeshi's story, that they'll fade away. That no one will remember. That it will all be reduced to statistics in a history book. Numbers of ships, numbers of planes, numbers of casualties. That the individual people, the individual stories, the individual moments of humanity and terror and kindness and cruelty, that they'll be lost. That's why I'm telling this, why I wanted it recorded, why I wanted it preserved somewhere, so that maybe someone someday will hear it and remember. Will understand that war isn't just politics and strategy, it's people, real people with real lives and real families and real hopes and real fears, people who make choices, people who show courage or cowardice or both, people who survive or don't, people who carry it with them forever. The raft. I think about that raft more than anything else. Those days on the water, sun beating down, sharks circling, water stretching forever. 3 men who shouldn't have been together. 3 men who kept each other alive, not just physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever you want to call it. We kept each other human, reminded each other that there was more to life than war and death. that there was still kindness in the world, still compassion, still hope. Without that raft, I wouldn't have learned that lesson, wouldn't have become who I became, would have come home harder, angrier, more broken. The raft saved me in more ways than one. I've been asked if I ever wanted to find the submarine that picked us up, track it down, learn what happened to it, to the crew, to the captain who decided to spare my life. I thought about it, but some things are better left as memories, better left as moments in time that don't need explanation or expansion. The submarine picked us up. They kept me alive. They took me to Japan. That's enough. The details beyond that don't matter as much. What matters is the choice that was made, the humanity that was shown, the ripple effects that followed. I read somewhere once that every person you meet changes you in some way, that we're all constantly being shaped by our interactions, our relationships, our experiences. I believe that. I've been shaped by so many people. My parents who raised me, Dorothy who loved me, my kids who gave me purpose, Mitchell and Rodriguez who were my brothers in war, the guards in the camp who showed me both cruelty and occasional mercy, the other veterans I've known who understood without needing explanation, and Takeshi, especially Takeshi. He shaped me more than anyone except maybe Dorothy, showed me that enemies are just people on the other side of a conflict, that we're all more similar than we are different, that choosing compassion isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the hardest thing. It's the most important thing. If you're still listening to my story, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like button and subscribe. It means these memories won't be forgotten. There's a memorial in Washington, D.C., the World War II Memorial. I went there once, about 20 years ago, walked around it, read the names, stood at the Pacific section, touched the stone, thought about all the men who didn't come home, thought about the ones who did but left pieces of themselves over there, thought about how we were all just kids really, 19, 20, 21 years old, thrust into circumstances we couldn't have imagined, asked to do things we weren't prepared for. Some of us rose to the occasion, some of us didn't. Most of us just did our best and hoped it was enough. The memorial is beautiful, solemn, respectful, but it can't capture what it was really like. No memorial can. That's not a criticism. It's just reality. You can't capture war in stone and water. You can honor it, you can remember it, but you can't capture it. The young man next door, the one thinking about joining the military, he came over yesterday, said he'd made his decision. He's enlisting, Navy, going to be a mechanic on a ship, said he wants to serve, wants to be part of something bigger than himself, wants to see the world, learn a skill. I told him I respected his decision, told him to pay attention during training, to listen to the people who've been there longer, to take care of his buddies, to remember that they're all in it together, to be smart, to be careful, to write home, to remember that actions have consequences, to choose humanity when he has the choice. He thanked me, shook my hand, said my story about Takeshi had influenced his decision, said he wants to be the kind of person who makes those kinds of choices, who sees people instead of labels, who chooses compassion when he can. I hope he is. I hope he gets the chance to make those choices. I hope he comes home. I hope he lives a long life. I hope he doesn't have to carry the kind of weight I've carried. But if he does, I hope he carries it well. The seasons change. Winter comes, snow falls, spring arrives, flowers bloom, summer brings heat, fall brings color. The cycle repeats, year after year. I've seen this cycle 89 times since I came home from the war. Each year a little different, each year a little harder to get through, but still beautiful, still worth experiencing, still full of small moments of joy, a good meal, a phone call from my daughter, a letter from one of Takeshi's children who still writes to me occasionally, a sunny day, a memory that makes me smile instead of cry. These are the things that make it worth it, that make the struggle worth it, that makes surviving worth it. I've outlived most of the people I knew. That's what happens when you get old. You become a repository of memories for people who aren't here anymore. You carry them with you, keep their stories alive. Remember their voices, their laughs, their quirks. Mitchell's humming, Rodriguez's obsession with his mother's cooking, Takeshi's careful way of speaking English, making sure every word was right, Dorothy's smile, my father's strong hands, my mother's hugs, Eleanor's letters during the war, full of small-town news and love. They're all gone now, all of them. I'm the last one left in my immediate circle, the last one who remembers exactly how things were. That's a lonely feeling, but it's also a responsibility to remember accurately, to tell the truth, to not let their memories be distorted by time or sentiment, to keep them real. The truth is complicated. The truth is that war is terrible and necessary, that people are capable of great cruelty and great kindness, that enemies can become friends, that survival requires both luck and will, that trauma stays with you forever, but you learn to live with it, that small choices can have enormous consequences, that humanity is always a choice, never a given, that life is precious and fragile and unfair, that love matters, that friendship matters, that the connections we make are the only things that really last. These are the truths I've learned. These are the truths I'm trying to pass on. I'm tired now, more tired than I used to be. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. The kind that comes from living a long time, from carrying heavy things, from age and illness and loss. My body is wearing out. That's natural. That's the way of things. I've had a good run, longer than many, longer than Mitchell and Rodriguez, longer than I thought I'd have when I was in that raft thinking I was going to die. Every year since then has been bonus time, time I wasn't supposed to have. I've tried to use it well, tried to make it count, tried to be worthy of the gift I was given, the gift of survival, the gift of Takeshi's compassion, the gift of a second chance. When I'm gone, there will be one less person who remembers what it was really like, one less voice to tell the stories, one less connection to that time. That makes me sad, but it's inevitable. Time moves forward, generations pass. The direct memory of World War II is fading. Soon, there will be no one left who was there. No one who can say, I saw this, I experienced this is how it was. Just historians and books and recordings and museums. Second-hand memory, important but different. Not the same as someone looking you in the eye and telling you what they lived through, what they saw, what they did, what they regret, what they're proud of. That directness, that immediacy, that will be lost. That's the nature of time. But maybe that's okay. Maybe each generation needs to learn these lessons for themselves, needs to face their own challenges, needs to make their own choices about what kind of people they want to be, what kind of world they want to create. I can tell my story. I can share what I learned. But ultimately, they have to decide what to do with it, have to decide if they'll choose compassion over hatred, peace over war, understanding over ignorance, humanity over ideology. I hope they do. I hope my story and stories like it help them make those choices. But I can't force it, can't guarantee it. All I can do is tell the truth as I remember it and hope it matters. The photograph on my desk is more than just 3 men in a raft. It's proof that the impossible is possible, that enemies can help each other, that survival isn't just about staying alive, but about staying human, that the choices we make in our worst moments define who we are, that compassion is always available if we're willing to reach for it, that the human heart is bigger and stronger and more resilient than we give it credit for. That's what I see when I look at that photograph. That's what I want others to see. Not just 3 men who were lucky to survive, but 3 men who chose to be better than the war required them to be, who chose humanity when dehumanization would have been easier, who proved that even in hell, grace is possible. If you're still listening to my story, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like button and subscribe. It means these memories won't be forgotten. I think Takeshi and I stayed friends for so long because we understood each other in a way no one else could. We'd been through something together that no one else could fully comprehend. We'd faced death together, made impossible choices together, saved each other's lives. That creates a bond that transcends language, culture, nationality, everything. It's a bond forged in extremity, in crisis, in moments when everything else falls away and all that's left is the essential core of who you are. We saw each other's essential core, and we recognized it. Recognized the shared humanity. That recognition, that understanding, it lasted 50 years. Through letters and visits and phone calls and photographs, through raising families and growing old and losing spouses, through everything, right up until the day he died. I miss him more than I thought I would. Miss his letters, miss his voice on the phone when he'd call on my birthday every year, miss his presence in the world, knowing he was out there, living his life, thinking about me sometimes the way I thought about him. That was a comfort. Now he's gone, and I'm still here, and the world feels a little emptier, a little lonelier. But I have the memories, have the letters, have the photograph, have the 50 years of friendship. That's more than most people get, more than I ever expected. I'm grateful for it, grateful for every moment, grateful that a terrible circumstance led to something beautiful, something that enriched my life immeasurably, something that made me better than I would have been without it. The thing is, I could have been different, could have let hatred consume me, could have come home from the war angry at all Japanese people, could have blamed them collectively for what I went through, for what happened to my friends, for the scars I carry. A lot of veterans did that. I understand why. It's easier. Easier to hate a whole group than to deal with the complexity of individuals. Easier to dehumanize than to empathize. But I couldn't do that because I'd met Takeshi, because I knew that the young man in that Zero was just like me, scared, following orders, wanting to survive, wanting to go home, because I'd seen his humanity and he'd seen mine, and that changed everything. That made it impossible to hate, made it necessary to separate the individual from the collective, the person from the nation, the human from the uniform. That lesson, that ability to see nuance, to see complexity, to see individuals instead of groups, that served me well my whole life, made me more patient, more understanding, more willing to give people the benefit of the doubt, more willing to listen before judging, more willing to find common ground, more willing to bridge divides. I'm not perfect. I've failed at this many times, but I've tried. I've made the effort, and I think I've been better for it. My life has been richer for it. My relationships have been deeper for it. My understanding of the world has been more complete for it. If there's one thing I want people to take from my story, it's this: your enemies are human too. Whatever conflict you're in, whatever disagreement you're having, whatever side you're on, remember that the people on the other side are human. They have families. They have hopes and fears. They have reasons for believing what they believe, for doing what they do. Those reasons might be wrong. Their actions might be wrong, but they're still human. And if you can remember that, if you can see their humanity even when it's hard, even when everything in you wants to dehumanize them, then maybe, just maybe, you can find a way to peace, to understanding, to resolution, to something better than endless conflict. I'm not naive. I know this isn't always possible. I know some people, some ideologies, some actions are so evil that compassion seems impossible. I know that sometimes you have to fight, have to stand up, have to draw a line. But even then, even in those circumstances, remembering the humanity of your enemy, that's important. That keeps you from becoming what you're fighting against, keeps you from losing your own humanity in the process of fighting inhumanity. That's a balance, a difficult balance, but it's necessary. It's what keeps us human. It's what keeps us from descending into pure tribalism and hatred. The world today feels divided, more divided than I can remember in a long time. People in different camps, different sides, different ideologies, shouting at each other, dehumanizing each other, refusing to listen, refusing to find common ground. It worries me, reminds me too much of the conditions that led to the war I fought in. That's how it starts, with dehumanization, with seeing the other side as less than human, as enemies instead of neighbors, as threats instead of people. Once that starts, once that process begins, terrible things become possible. Things that wouldn't be possible if we remembered our shared humanity. So I tell my story, and I hope people hear it, really hear it. Not just the adventure or the drama or the unusual circumstance of an American and a Japanese helping each other, but the deeper message, the lesson underneath, that humanity is a choice, that compassion is a choice, that how we treat each other, especially how we treat people who are different from us, people we disagree with, people we might even consider enemies, that's what defines us. That's what determines what kind of society we build, what kind of world we leave for the next generation, what kind of legacy we leave behind. I won't be here much longer. That's just reality. When I'm gone, this story will remain, this recording, these words. Maybe someone will listen. Maybe someone will learn something. Maybe someone will make a different choice because they heard about the choice I made, about the choice Takeshi made. Maybe that will ripple out, create more compassion, more understanding, more humanity. That's my hope. That's why I'm telling this. Not for glory or recognition or anything like that. Just to add one more voice to the chorus, saying that we can be better, that we should be better, that being better is always possible if we're willing to try. Mitchell, if you're listening somehow, if there's something beyond this life and you can hear me, I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I tried. I did everything I knew how to do, but it wasn't enough. I've carried that guilt for 79 years, wondered if there was something else I could have done, something I missed. But I'm trying to let that go now, trying to forgive myself. You were a good man, a good pilot, a good friend. You saved my life more times than I saved yours. You kept us alive when we should have been dead. You hummed when you flew and it drove Rodriguez crazy, but I liked it. It was calming. You talked about Sarah, about marrying her when you got home, about the life you'd have. I'm sorry you didn't get that life. I'm sorry it ended the way it did. But I remember you. I've told your story. Your name won't be forgotten. Not by me. Not ever. Rodriguez, same to you. I'm sorry I let you go into the water. I know I had to. I know I couldn't have saved you and myself both. But it still feels like failure, still feels like I gave up on you. You talked about your mother constantly, about her cooking, about how she'd pray for you every day, about how you promised you'd come home. I'm sorry you couldn't keep that promise. I'm sorry your mother had to get that telegram. I hope the pain of losing you has eased for your family over the years. I hope they remember you with love and not just with grief. You were funny. You made us laugh even when things were terrible. You kept morale up. You were important. You mattered. I remember you. Takeshi, I hope you're at peace. I hope wherever you are, if you're anywhere, you're with your wife again, with the people you loved. I hope you know how much you meant to me, how much our friendship mattered, how much you taught me, how much you changed me. You were my enemy for a few minutes and my brother for 50 years. That's a ratio I'll take. That's a trade I'd make again. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for showing me